All right, good evening. Hi, how is everyone doing today? Sorry, I have started the live a couple of minutes late. So I'm going to wait for some people to join just in case they tried to join at 10:15. I came home a little bit late from work, but I am here now. Thank you for joining me. We've got a couple people who have already jumped in. Good evening from Tokyo, by the way. It's evening time here. It's Thursday night here in Tokyo. Uh, I hope everyone has had a good day or is having a good day, depending on where you are. Uh, I'm doing the live in the evening again here in Tokyo just because I thought it might reach more people, more countries. We've got XYZ here. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining XYZ. It's always good to talk with you. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. It's definitely autumn in here. And if you guys see my background here, as you can see, I've still got some Halloween decorations up here. This actually, if I actually just turn it up a little bit more, it says spooky. Spookies. That was part of my Halloween decorations. And we've got happy, which is missing. It's missing a P here. I guess the P has fallen down, and it's happy birthday. If you look that way, there's birthday. So in fact, it was my birthday on Halloween day. So I've still got some decorations. My friends threw me a surprise Halloween birthday party on Sunday. So that was a lot of fun. My friends really went out all out. They decorated the place a lot. They brought me lots of really nice gifts. So yeah, it was a really good day. So I've still got the decorations up. I need to take those down. I've been so busy that I haven't been able to take down the Halloween decorations yet. But I need to get it down because Thanksgiving is just around the corner, and then after that, Christmas. All right, so XYZ, you're doing well. That's good. Good to hear. And thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, it was a good day. I had a good birthday. It was a very tiring birthday, but I had a lot of fun. We're going to wait a couple of minutes for other people to join. I'm going to put a message on the community site right now as well. So we'll get some more people online here. So just give me a couple of seconds here. Today, we're going to be doing a great lesson. Today's lesson is going to be on comparing nouns. Comparing nouns. A lot of times when we learn grammar, we learn how to compare using adjectives. Big, bigger, small, smaller, busy, busier. But today, we're not going to talk about adjectives. We are going to talk about nouns instead. And we'll get right into that soon. I'm just going to put a message on the community site to let people know that we have started the lesson. All right. Okay. There we go. Put the message, and we're going to jump right into it. So, like I said, today we are going to be comparing nouns. Not adjectives, but we are going to be comparing nouns. So that's today's lesson. I'm going to put up the lesson that we're going to do right now. And as always, if you want a copy of this lesson, just let me know and I can provide that for you. Hopefully, I don't have any issues sharing my screen. And there we go. No problem at all. So in today's lesson, as you can see, we will be practicing how to compare nouns with as, and much and many. All right, as, and much and many. That is what we're going to be focusing on today. I wanted to do this lesson because in the last live lesson we talked a lot about countable and uncountable nouns. So I wanted to continue with that. I wanted to continue with a little bit of countable and uncountable noun practice. In the last live lesson, we practiced mainly food, a lot of food items, and we made there are sentences. Today, we're going to be comparing nouns, but again, we have to worry about countable and uncountable. So let's jump into exactly how we're going to be making these sentences. Now, whenever we make a sentence comparing a noun using as and as, if we look at the lesson, it says that we use as to say things that are either equal or unequal. Okay, so that means they are the same or they're different. Now, usually when we're using as, we are going to be using it to mean that something is unequal. They're not the same. So that is the most common way to use this sentence. We can use it to mean the same, but in today's lesson, we're going to be practicing how to say two things are different. And we have a common pattern here. Now let's look at pattern number one. Pattern number one, we always start our sentence with the subject, and the subject can be I, you, he, she, we. It can be any subject. It doesn't have to be a person. The subject could be a thing. It could be a place. All right, so that we're always going to start a sentence with a subject. And today, the main verb we are going to use is have. The main verb we're going to use is have. And to make things not equal, it's very important that we say not have. Not have. Yo, hello, good evening. How are you today? I hope you're having a good evening today. I hope you had a good day as well. So today we're going to be comparing nouns, and we're using as, much, and many. So the first pattern, we've got the subject, we've got not plus have. Now, the important thing is here in the middle. We're going to put as, many. Then if I use many, I must say an accountable noun, accountable noun. All right, so if I use many, it's followed by a countable noun, then as, and then the final word is going to be a noun, and this is going to be a person, a place, or a thing. Now, the other pattern is number two. The beginning is the same, subject, not have. Then here, we've got a little bit, I've made actually a mistake here, so I'm going to correct it. This is going to be uncountable. All right, so if I'm using an uncountable noun, I'm going to be using much. Much. Much plus an uncountable noun, as, and then a noun. Now, I've got a couple of example sentences here, but before, oh, we got some ambulances going by my house. Before we look at the example sentences, let's look at a simple comparison sentence. Now let's just do a very, very simple one. Let's have one subject is Bob. Bob has more books than Joe. Bob has more books than Joe. So let's say Bob has 10 books. Joe has 5 books. Bob has more books than Joe. This is a very easy way to compare a noun. The noun is going to be a book. And here we've got books. So Bob has more books. But today we want to use as. Now, in the traditional sentence, this one here, Bob has more. Bob has 10 books. Joe has 5. So in that situation, the person who has more, the person who has the stronger position is at the beginning of the sentence. And Joe has less. He is at the end of the sentence. Now, I always like to say, we're going to have the strong noun at the beginning and the weak noun at the end. So Bob has 10 books. Joe has 5 books. So Bob is first. Now, with as, the order of our sentence is going to switch. It's going to switch. When we're using as, if we're using as with a noun, if we're using as with adjectives, we always start with the weak, and strong is at the end. So it's going to be the opposite. All right, so we're going to start with the weak at the beginning. So if we make the same sentence, I would start, let's actually change the color of this so it's easier for you to follow. Let's make it purple. All right, so I'm going to start with Joe. Joe is the weak noun. Joe is the weak person. So Joe, so I have to use negative now. So book. Is a book countable or uncountable? Okay, a book is countable. So we are going to be using this first pattern up here. Okay, so to finish the sentence, I would say Joe doesn't have as many books as Bob. So when we use as, the weaker noun, the weaker person, place, or thing goes at the beginning, and the stronger one goes at the end. Okay, so does that make sense? And while you're thinking, good evening, YFS. Good evening. How are you? I hope you're doing very well today. Okay, let's look at another example. Let's look at another example here. I'm going to sort of remove this one. Okay, and I just want you to remember when we use as, we go weak to strong. Okay, let's look at this example here. And I'm going to make a traditional using more sentence. Let's say Becky has more juice than Tim. Becky has more juice than Tim. Now, Becky is the strong, but she has more. Weaker, so he's at the end. As, we're going to switch it. We always switch it. So the first thing we have to decide, juice. Is juice countable or uncountable? Okay, so what does everybody think? Is juice countable or uncountable? Now, remember, when we did the lesson last time, if you joined me, the easy way to do it is if this is juice and I pour it into my hand. So I've got juice in my hand here. Can you count it? And XYZ's answer is it's uncountable. That is correct. Juice is uncountable. Very good. Okay. Dio says uncountable. Correct. Juice is uncountable. So if it's uncountable, then we must use this pattern. We're going to have our subject. We're going to have not plus have. We're going to have as much plus juice as, and then the other noun. So remember here, we know that we are going to go from weak all the way to strong. So my weak noun is at the beginning and the strong noun is at the end. So YFS, uncountable. Correct. Who can change this sentence for me? Who can make it into a sentence using as? So Becky has more juice than Tim. Let's change it using as. And leave your answers in the comment section. And this is a good time for me also. If you're watching on the replay of this, welcome and thanks for joining. And anytime you want to answer any of these questions, leave your answer in the comment section and I will check your answers. So in this one, we have Becky has more juice than Tim. We want to rewrite this sentence using as. And please use pattern number 2. Pattern number 2 to do this. Okay, and XYZ has an answer. Tim doesn't have as much juice as Becky. Perfect. Tim doesn't have as much juice as Becky. That's a perfect answer. So Tim is in the weaker position, so we begin the sentence with him. Becky is in the stronger position, so we end the sentence with her. Juice is uncountable. YFS says Tim doesn't have as much juice as Becky. Perfect. And also, Tim doesn't have as much juice as Becky. Perfect. Very good. Okay, let's do one more example, and then we'll move into our exercises. So I want you to change the sentence using as. All right, so let's go. Let's say, okay, here's a good one. Let's say a Labrador dog has a lot of fur. A German Shepherd has a little bit of fur. Okay, so I'm making this a little bit more difficult. I've made this a little bit more difficult. I didn't give you the sentence. Oh, yeah, XYZ. Sorry, very good. I read it wrong. I actually read your sentence like this. Tim doesn't have as much juice as Becky. Yes, that's correct. Not as much as juice. That is very, very correct. All right, so we've got here a Labrador dog has a lot of fur. A German Shepherd has a little bit of fur. If I make the traditional sentence, I could say a Labrador has more fur than a German Shepherd. That's the traditional sentence. Who can change it to make an as sentence? Who can change it to make an as sentence? So the first thing you have to do, we are comparing fur. We're comparing fur. Is fur countable or is it uncountable? That's what you have to determine. If fur is countable, please use pattern number 1. If fur is uncountable, please use pattern number 2. And remember, begin with the weaker noun first and end with the stronger noun. So here, German Shepherd and Labrador, they would switch. And just in case anyone doesn't know, a German Shepherd is a dog. A Labrador is also a dog. So is fur countable or is fur uncountable? That's what we need to figure out first. Dio has an answer. This answer is a German Shepherd doesn't have as much fur as a Labrador. Yes, perfect. Fur is uncountable. Fur is uncountable. So you use much. YFS, a German Shepherd doesn't have as much fur as the Labrador. Also perfect. And XYZ, a German Shepherd doesn't have as much fur as a Labrador. Perfect. Okay, very, very good. So we know that fur is uncountable. You cannot count fur. So we use pattern number 2. Okay, now let's do a little quiz. Let's do a little quiz first. Before we make more sentences, let's do a little countable and uncountable quiz. I want you to tell me, is it countable or is it uncountable? We did a quiz like this in the last live lesson, but it was mainly food. In today's lesson, we will be doing various nouns. So I want you to tell me if it's countable or uncountable. So in the comment section, just put C for countable or U for uncountable. All right, so if we look at the first one, we've got food. Is food countable or uncountable? Countable or uncountable? And I'm going to actually add one more to the list on the screen because today I bought something and I want everybody to tell me if it's countable or uncountable. All right, so Dio says U for uncountable. Yes, correct. Oh, well, XYZ is answering all the questions. Look at you, going. Very good, XYZ. Yes, food is uncountable. Number 2, equipment. So XYZ thinks equipment is countable. XYZ thinks equipment is countable. YFS answered number 1, food is uncountable. What about number 2? YFS, you're correct. Food is uncountable. Number 2, equipment. So we've got XYZ who thinks equipment is countable. Does everybody agree with XYZ? Is equipment countable? Oh, no problem. No problem, XYZ. Yeah, no. You can try all of them all at once. That's fine. That's great. That way the lesson can move quickly. So no, you don't have to say sorry. Dio says equipment is uncountable. And Teresa says equipment is uncountable. All right, so we've got 2 uncountable and we've got one countable. Equipment is uncountable. Equipment is uncountable. We cannot count equipment. So Dio and Teresa, you are correct. So we know now we've got food is uncountable, equipment is uncountable. So if we're making a sentence using as, we're going to be using much and much for both of these words. YFS, uncountable. Very good. Okay, let's keep moving. Number 3, traffic. Traffic. Is traffic countable or uncountable? Now, I live in Tokyo. I used to live in LA, and there was a lot of traffic in both of these cities. Teresa, you say traffic is uncountable. Dio, you say traffic is uncountable. Both of you are correct. Traffic is uncountable. We cannot count traffic. We can count the cars. XYZ traffic is uncountable. Very good. We can count all of the cars, but traffic itself, we cannot count. YFS, uncountable. Very good. Number 4, book. Is a book countable or uncountable? This is, I think, quite easy one for everyone, but I tried to put at least a couple of easy ones in there. Book, countable or uncountable? Teresa, countable, perfect. XYZ, countable, perfect. All right. Dio, countable, perfect. YFS, countable, perfect. What about number 5, land? Land. Is land countable or uncountable? Land. Land could be a tricky one. Now, whenever we do countable, uncountable for food, it's easy because we can imagine it in our hand. These nouns we can't imagine in our hand. So for number 5, land, Dio, uncountable. XYZ, uncountable. YFS, uncountable. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right. Teresa, uncountable. Perfect. All right. Money. Is money countable or uncountable? Now, I talked about this in the last live lesson that I did. You know, a lot of times we can categorize things. So we have the category title and the things inside the category. And one could be countable and the others are uncountable. So XYZ for number 6, you say money is uncountable. Yo, uncountable. Very good. YFS, uncountable. That is correct. Money is uncountable. Now, within money, if we have the coin, if we have the bills, that's countable. But money itself is the category, it's uncountable. All right, what about fruit? Fruit, countable or uncountable? We only have a few more to go. This is just a quick little quiz before we make our sentences. Fruit, is fruit countable or uncountable? So, fruit uncountable. Very good. YFS uncountable. Very good. Teresa uncountable. Very good. I like this. I like that you guys all know this because XYZ also uncountable. A lot of people recently are using fruit as a countable noun. So they're saying fruits. And this is completely incorrect. Fruit is not countable. So do not put an S on your word fruit. Number 8, pollution. Pollution. Is that countable or uncountable? And do you know what pollution means? If you don't know what pollution means, just put a question mark in the comment section. If you do know what it means, tell me, is it countable or uncountable? So pollution. Countable or uncountable? And then after that, we only have a couple more. Teresa, yes, uncountable. Very good. Yo, uncountable. XYZ, uncountable. YFS, uncountable. Perfect. You guys are smashing through this. That's really, really good. Rule, number 9, rule. Is a rule countable or uncountable? Rule. Try to think about when you were growing up. When you're growing up and think about the rule, maybe your parents will make a rule. XYZ, pollution equals bad quality air. I know it's just a misspell, but yes, you're correct. Pollution is when you have a lot of really bad air. There's a lot of smog, smoke. The air is not, good for our health. So number 9, rule. Teresa says it's countable. XYZ countable, DO countable, and YFS countable. Perfect. Growing up, did you have a lot of rules? Did you have a lot of rules? Did your parents make a lot of rules in your house? I was pretty good. My parents didn't really make many rules. They were pretty carefree. Last one before we start making sentences. We have mountain. Mountain. Is a mountain countable or uncountable? XYZ, yes. Yes, you had a lot of rules. Yeah, some of my friends had a lot of rules as well. Rules are okay. YFS, not really, just respect elders. My parents were the same. Just respect your elders. That was a really big rule for my house. Number 10, Dio says mountain is countable. Teresa says a mountain is countable. Perfect. XYZ countable and YFS countable. Very, very good. Okay. Little mini quiz to get us warmed up. Now remember, we are going to be using countable and uncountable. So if it's a countable noun, please use many. And if it's an uncountable noun, please use much. So we are going to be making sentences now. And my example sentence is really easy. If we just look at the example sentence here, I'll highlight it here. It says, Joe has 10 pairs of shoes. Sarah has 2 pairs of shoes. I've spelled that wrong, not off, but of. We're going to make a sentence using as. Okay, now shoes is countable. So my sentence would be, Sarah doesn't have as many shoes as Joe. Sarah doesn't have as many shoes as Joe. All right. We're not going to start with number 1. We're actually going to start with number 2 because it's really easy. And then we'll go to 1. Okay. Number 2 is really, really easy. So we're going to start with that. And then after that, we'll go to number 1, 3, and then we'll continue down. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to read this information. And then using this information, I want you to make a sentence using as. Now remember, the weaker subject, the weaker noun will always go at the beginning. The stronger one will go at the end. This one is easy because I've given you all of the information. I've given you the noun that you can use in this sentence. So please make a sentence and type it into the message box. And when you're done, so you can either use as many uncountable noun, or you can use as much. So there's two options that you will have. Okay, and Teresa starts off here. Bob doesn't have as much water as Kenji. Perfect. Bob doesn't have as much water. Water is uncountable, so that's perfect. XYZ, Bob doesn't have as much water as Kenji. YFS, Bob doesn't have as, okay, very, very good. YFS, we're going to come back to you. We're going to come back to this answer. Let's go to Dio's answer first. Bob doesn't have as much water as Kenji. Perfect. So here, YFS, you use the word, and I know this is just a typo. Liter of water. Liter of water. So a liter is countable. So you use many. You use many. Now, this is almost perfect, YFS. If you want to make this sentence, and I'm going to put it onto the screen right here. Whenever we use many, many is a plural adjective. It's introducing a plural adjective. That means more than one. Okay, it's introducing more than one. So you need to say as many liters of water, as liters of water, not liter. It has to be plural. You need to put the S on there. So you would say, Bob doesn't have as many liters of water than Kenji. So if you're using liter, then that is correct. And YFS, look at that. As many liters of water. As many liters of water. Okay, so your word order is a little bit wrong also in this. As many liters of water as. I think that's just a typo. You put too many as's, but I think that's just a typo. So YFS, does that make sense? Everybody, does that make sense? If you're going to use many, make sure your noun has an S on it. Okay, that was the warm-up one. We're going to go back to number one now. We're back to number one. New York's population is 8.5 million. Paris's population is 2.2 million. And remember, we have to use a noun here. I don't want any adjectives. As many liters of water as. I panicked. No. I knew you just added an extra as. Don't panic. It's all good. We're all here together, so there's no reason to panic. So here we've got New York versus Paris. We've got 8.5 million versus 2.2 million. What sentence would you make here using, again, remember, we're using a noun. We're going to be using have, much, or many, depending on what noun you use. So your first job is, what noun will you use to compare these two cities? And again, anybody in the comments or anybody watching this on tape on delay, if you're watching this after the live, you can put all of your answers in the comment section. Someone did that the other day. They answered all their questions and they put it in the comment section. It was great. It's a great way to study. I will check all of your answers. So anybody who's watching on the replay, feel free to put your answers in the comment section. Okay, so we've got some answers here. XYZ says Paris doesn't have as many people as New York. At YFS, Paris doesn't have as many people as New York. Perfect. You both chose the noun people. People is countable, and people is a unique countable noun because it can never have an S. People is the plural form. So very good not putting an S on that, both of you. Paris doesn't have as many people as New York. Teresa, Paris doesn't have as much population as New York. Yeah, that would work. Population is uncountable. This is, I understand it. It works. And I think your answer is the same here. Paris doesn't have as much population in New York. A lot of times this people will be the more popular answer here. A lot of times with population, we are going to use that as our noun. So if I'm going to use population, a lot of times my sentence would be a little bit different. My sentence would be, New York's population. Right. Now I'm going to actually start with Paris's. Sorry, Paris, because it's the weaker one. Paris's population isn't as big as New York's. So with population, a really popular sentence is using the adjective. So we're talking population as the subject, not as the noun that we compare. But both of your sentences do work. Grammatically, your sentence works. Paris doesn't have as much population as New York. It works. But I think people is the more common answer. Paris doesn't have as many people as New York. Okay, very good. And Teresa, does that make sense? All right. While we're waiting for that, hopefully both you guys understand that. Grammatically, your answers are right, both of you, Teresa and Dio. But I would say in conversation, we would probably use people more. Teresa, you are very welcome. I'm glad that you understand it. That's great. That's the most important thing. And you got this. Yes. Good. Okay, perfect. Okay, let's look at the next one. It's getting a little bit more difficult. I'm trying not to give you the nouns. I want you to think of which noun to use to compare things. Now here, I'm comparing my country where I'm originally from and the country where I live now. So I've got Canada, where I'm from. Canada has many trees, mountains, lakes, and rivers. Japan has many buildings. How would you compare these two sentences, these two countries? What noun would you use to compare? Okay, again, so Canada has many trees, mountain, lakes, rivers. Japan has many buildings. There's so many nouns you could use. So most likely you will all have a different answer. Or you might all be thinking the same thing. For me, I have a specific noun that I would use for this, but there's not only one answer. So anybody who's watching right now with me, anybody who's watching on delay, there are many possible answers. So the only way to know if your sentence is correct is to share it with me. And has anybody, I know some of you are living in Japan, or maybe you're living in Japan. Maybe. Has anybody ever been to Canada, or has anybody ever been to Japan? If you have, then try to image those two countries. What noun would you use? All right, so we've got YFS was saying Canada doesn't have as many as buildings as. All right, so I think you're panicking again, YFS. You're putting an extra as in there. That's a lot of times as many as much as is often used in conversation. So we have to be careful with this one. We don't want to say we don't want that as after the many. So here, Canada doesn't have as many buildings. We need the S. We need an S there because we're using many. Canada doesn't have as many. There you go. You corrected it. I need to slow down. I'm sorry, YFS, but yeah, you corrected it. Good job. Canada doesn't have as many buildings as Japan. Perfect. Dio has a different answer. Japan doesn't have as much nature as Canada. Perfect. Nature is uncountable. Nature is uncountable. So we could also use that. Japan is in the weaker position, so it goes first. We've got XYZ. Japan doesn't have as much nature as Canada. Perfect. I like this next one. Yeah, this one was really good, Teresa. Japan doesn't have as many trees, mountain, lakes, and rivers as Canada. Yeah, you listed all of the nouns. And that is great. Whenever we're comparing nouns, we can list more than one. We don't just have to have one. So Teresa shows a good example here. You know, trees, mountain, lakes, rivers. Now, it's important. All of these are countable. So it's okay. We can say many because they're all countable. Now, we don't want to have countable and uncountable in the same sentence. Okay, but yeah, perfect. Japan doesn't have as many trees, mountains, lakes, and rivers as Canada. Excellent. Good job. Okay, let's look at this next one. This one's not so difficult. Sarah is always busy. Julie has a lot of free time. Sarah is always busy. Julie has lots of free time. So this, what would be? Teresa, you're very welcome. No, thank you, Teresa. And YFS is also saying thank you to Teresa as well. Yeah, that's great. Great for pointing that out. You know, we can always list as many nouns as we want as long as they're all matching. Perfect. Really, really good. All right. So the answer here is Sarah doesn't have as much free time as Julie. Perfect. Perfect. Sarah doesn't have as much free time as Julie. Perfect. Teresa, Sarah doesn't have as much time as Julie. Perfect. Excellent. Time is uncountable. So we use much. And I forgot, I did wanted to show you guys one thing. I bought something today. XYZ, Sarah doesn't have as much free time as Julie. Perfect. Perfect. And YFS, Julie doesn't have as many things as Sarah. Okay, I like how you're going with this, YFS. I like how you're going. We need to change this a little bit. Teresa, you said you had a typo. Where was your typo? Sarah doesn't have. Oh, yeah, I see it now. I see it now. Sometimes I just automatically read things that aren't there. Teresa, thank you for catching that. Yeah, you missed the one as. Sarah doesn't have as much time as July. But you caught it yourself. Good job. Yes, very good. Yes. I had to read it like 3 times to catch that, Teresa. Yeah, I didn't even notice at the beginning. And YFS, you also, I think, corrected your sentence. You say, Julie doesn't have as many things to do as Sarah. Yes. Now that's a perfect sentence. Julie doesn't have as many things to do as Sarah. Right? If it's just as many things, that means physical things. Like she has many things. I don't have many things. But here it's things to do, things to do. YFS, very good that you corrected yourself and you made a perfect sentence. So before we do number 5, everybody, good job. Everybody made perfect sentences. I said, we did the countable versus uncountable quiz. And I said I bought something today, and I wanted to show you what I bought. And I want you to tell me, is it countable or is it uncountable? Okay. I bought some food today. I went to a department store today. They were having a special food fair for, yes, YFS. I like it. They were having a food fair for food that was from the north part of Japan. It's called Hokkaido, famous for a lot of seafood. So I bought this. I didn't get a chance to eat it because I had to go to work, but I bought this, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to kind of move my screen down. There's 2 things in here. I hope you guys can see it. We've got 2 different types of seafood here. Now, first, the challenge is, does anybody know what this seafood is called? That's the first one. I hope you guys can see it. If you can't see it, I'm sorry. And the other one is there. So what is that seafood called? Now, and is that seafood countable or uncountable? And the whole box as well. Does anybody know what the box is called? Like the whole meal itself? Recently, it's becoming quite popular, I think, in Western cultures as well. Teresa, uncountable. Yes, it is uncountable. Perfect. Perfect. So that is uncountable. The seafood that was like on that rice is uncountable. And XYZ, you answered salmon roe and uni. Yes, perfect. Salmon roe is spelled a little different though. Salmon roe is spelled, I'm going to put it into the chat box as well with you guys. Salmon roe is spelled with R-O-E. And the other one is sea urchin. Sea urchin. Yes. Uni, that sort of yellowish one is sea urchin, which is called uni. And that's, yes, uncountable, uncountable, uncountable. The box itself is countable. Like the whole meal itself is countable. So that's going to be my dinner after we finish our lesson. But yeah, any seafood is going to be uncountable. So Teresa, good job. YFS, Dio, XYZ, good job. Okay, let's go back to the lesson here as well. It takes me 1 hour to drive anywhere in LA. It takes me 1 hour to drive anywhere in LA. It takes me 30 minutes to drive anywhere in Vancouver. It takes me 1 hour to drive anywhere in LA, and it takes me 30 minutes to drive anywhere in Vancouver. Let's use that information to make a sentence comparing a noun or nouns using as, and don't forget, be careful of your countable and uncountable much or many. And I used to live in Los Angeles, and honestly, it generally takes you about an hour to go anywhere in LA. So whenever you ask someone, oh, how long will it take you to get there? Everybody always says, about an hour. Oh, well, about an hour. That's the standard answer. It always takes about an hour to get anywhere in LA. And I'm from Canada, and so I've been to Vancouver many times. My hometown is near Vancouver. And yeah, Vancouver, I would say about 30 minutes to get anywhere. So what sentence would you make here? And if you've ever been to LA, or if you haven't been to LA, I really recommend it. I know there's a lot of scary TikToks and Instagram right now about the crime that's happening in California. And I'm sure that some of it's true. But I was recently in LA in the end of August. I went to Disneyland. I went to some of the places where I used to live, and completely fine, completely safe. I think it depends where you go. I was in a nice area, so great place. All right. Do we have any answers here? Takes me 1 hour to drive anywhere in LA, but it takes me 30 minutes to drive anywhere in Vancouver. How do we compare these two sentences? What noun will you use? Okay, so you have the answer. Vancouver doesn't take as much time to drive anywhere as LA. All right, you're on the right path. You're on the right path. We need to fix this a little bit. XYZ, your answer says driving in Vancouver doesn't have as much traffic as driving in LA. Also, you're on the right path. You're almost there. It's an almost perfect sentence. YFS, driving in Vancouver doesn't have as much craziness as in LA. Okay. All right. Unique noun you chose there, YFS. Almost there. Almost there. Let's look at the O's first here. Vancouver doesn't take as much time to drive anywhere as LA. Now, to make this sentence perfect, and if you said this sentence to me, I would understand what you're saying. But in order for it to be, grammatically perfect, it would need to change a little bit. So Vancouver, here, we can't use Vancouver as our subject because Vancouver cannot drive, right? Vancouver doesn't take time. So in that situation, time, because you're using time as your noun, it should be your subject. It. So it doesn't take as much time to drive anywhere in Vancouver as in Los Angeles. I'm going to just put LA here. It doesn't take as much time to drive anywhere in Vancouver as in LA. So it becomes a little bit more complicated because we're using time. We should use the subject it. It takes time. It doesn't take time. So it doesn't take as much time. So we've got Teresa taking me to drive anywhere in Vancouver doesn't as much long as in LA. Okay, almost perfect. You change it as much time. You put as much time. So taking me to drive anywhere in Vancouver doesn't. So here, doesn't take as much time, Teresa. We want to say doesn't take as much time. So very similar to Dio and Teresa, both of you. We want to say doesn't take as much time to drive anywhere in LA. Now, XYZ and YFS, your answers were a little bit different. Driving in Vancouver doesn't have as much traffic. So here, your subject is driving. So driving and traffic don't match. So in this sentence, we want to make it even simpler. We just want to say Vancouver as your subject. Vancouver doesn't have as much traffic as LA. Vancouver doesn't have as much traffic as LA. And then YFS, Vancouver doesn't have as much craziness as LA. So no driving at the beginning. So, again, you fixed it. It doesn't take as much, no second as. Doesn't take as much time to drive anywhere in Vancouver as in LA. Don't put that second as after much. Now, Teresa, I can also change your sentence a little bit as well. Now, this means like taking me to drive means I'm not going to drive, which is okay. Sometimes you don't drive, somebody else is going to drive. So, in that situation, for example, if I'm taking an Uber, if I'm taking a taxi, right? Taking me anywhere in Vancouver doesn't take as much time as in LA. So taking me anywhere in Vancouver doesn't take as much time as in LA. XOZ, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. I could you figure it out now? So we don't want to say driving. We're just saying Vancouver. Traffic is in cities. Okay, you're very, very welcome, by the way. Let's go over one more in this exercise, and then I have a challenge for everyone. Teresa, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. I hope it makes sense. I think number 5 was probably the most difficult one. And I would just suggest a simple answer is the best. 1 hour versus 30 minutes driving, traffic. LA has more traffic than Vancouver, so Vancouver doesn't have as much traffic. YFS, if I want to say driving as a subject, in this situation, if I'm using driving as a subject, I'm going to put everything at the top here. You know, driving can be your subject, but driving cannot have something. So we're not going to use driving with a noun. Driving we would use with an adjective. So I could say driving in Vancouver isn't as stressful as in LA. Now, stressful is an adjective, so that would work. So driving, any type of action, cannot have something, but it can be something. It is stressful. It can be fun. It can be exciting. It can be dangerous. So we would use an adjective in this situation, YFS. So driving in Vancouver isn't as stressful, isn't as exciting, isn't as dangerous as in LA, depending on how you feel. For me, I love LA traffic. I love LA driving. I think it's very exciting. So driving in Vancouver isn't as exciting as in LA. Great, YFS, great. I'm very happy. So let's look at the final situation. Then I have a challenge. Oh, no, there's 2 situations. Oh, we'll do number 6. We'll do one more situation, and then I got a special challenge for everyone. Let's do number 6. Joe has 3 acres of property. Bob has 10 acres. 3 acres versus 10 acres. And does everybody understand what an acre is? Acre is a measurement term that we use in America. And I think in Canada we use it as well. Yeah, okay, so an acre is how we measure, and XYZ actually has here the answer. Joe doesn't have as much land as Bob. Yeah, so acre is a measurement of land. Acre is a measurement of land. Now, I'll put up in the comments section here. I'll put up as a banner. I believe this is I believe this is the correct measurement conversion. I'm not sure, but basically 1 acre of land is like 4,086 square meters. So, and if you want another visualization, think of a soccer field. Think of a rugby field. 1 acre is a little bit smaller than a football field or a soccer field. It's a little bit smaller. A football field is a little bit bigger. Soccer field is a little bit bigger, but that's how big it is. So if you can imagine a soccer field or a football field, that is what an acre is. Teresa, Joe doesn't have as much property. Don't forget doesn't have as much property as Bob. Okay, Joe doesn't have as much property as Bob. Yes. Here, property is uncountable. Property is uncountable. And property has many meanings. One meaning of property is land. Another meaning of property is just something you own. So Joe doesn't have as much property than Bob. Perfect, Teresa. Yeah, I typo again. I know people are typing on tablets or they're typing on their phones. Some people are typing on their computers, and it's easy to know when people do typos. I do typos all the time. You guys have been answering your sentences with perfect grammar, so I know when there's a typo, so don't worry. So Teresa, you did that. YFS, Joe doesn't have as many acres of property as Bob. Perfect. You used acres. Acres is countable. YFS, very good. Very good. So Joe doesn't have as much space of property as Bob. That works. Grammatically, that works. A little strange. We don't really say space and property. Space, maybe we don't need property. I would just say space. Joe doesn't have as much space as Bob. Property and space, maybe we don't use together. No, no worries. You know what? Typos, it's funny, right? Everybody makes typos. I make typos all the time. So, Joe, does that make sense? Probably space and property, we're not going to really use together. We could just say space. We could just say property. If you want to say something, acres of property, meters of property, that would work. All right, perfect. So yeah, everybody, great job. I have more questions down below. So if anybody wants to get a copy of this lesson, just let me know in the comment section after the live, or even now. You can comment, then we can figure out how I can send you the PDF of that lesson. But what I want to do now is I want to challenge you. I've given you 6 situations. You've read the situation and you've made really good sentences. And anyone who's, commenting after the tape delay, I'll check all your answers. But instead of giving you information, what I want to do is I want to go back to our quiz. So I want to go back to the countable and uncountable quiz. And I'm going to get rid of those 2 words here. We've got all of these nouns. We've got 10 nouns here. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to choose any noun here. I want you to choose a noun, And if you want to choose a different noun that is not in this list, that's also okay. So I'd like you to choose a noun, and then I want you to make your original sentence, comparing two things using much or many. And I'm giving you the noun, but I'm not giving you the topic. Please choose your topic and compare two things using one of these nouns. Okay, so that's your challenge. I want you guys all to make a sentence from one of these nouns here. And of course, it has to be let's not use an adjective. We can easily use adjectives. In fact, I'll do another live lesson where we compare things using adjectives. But for today, we will be using nouns. And any noun is fine. And let's try to make it a unique sentence. And I'll give you mine as well. I think for me, the easiest one for me is probably number 6. Number 6 is be easy for me. 4 is easy. And also, I'll give you also another parameter. You don't have to say present tense. If you want to use past tense, you can use past tense. So, wife is, what do I need to do? No problem. Let's do one together. I'll show you mine. We've got a list of nouns. Choose one, and I want you to make your original sentence. For example, if I choose number 6, maybe I would make a sentence. I don't have as much money as Bill Gates. That's my original sentence. I don't have as much money as Bill Gates. So you can choose any of these nouns. I chose money, and I made my original sentence. So I chose two different nouns, and I chose Bill Gates. So you can choose any one of these: food, equipment, traffic, book, land. If you want to do money, you could also do that. Fruit, pollution, rule, and mountain. You are very welcome, YFS. You're very welcome. Good question. I'm glad that you asked that because, most likely other people were confused as well. So thank you for asking. So you're going to choose any one of these nouns and make a sentence. And we'll do one right now together and a second one. I want everybody to do a second one as well and do that for homework. Or in fact, if you want to do all 10 for homework, that would be really good studying. All right, so Teresa, you have a sentence. My city doesn't have as much traffic as others. Perfect, great. Teresa, what is your city? It sounds like it's very nice with no traffic. What is your city? Grammatically, perfect sentence. Very good. I liked how you used the word others as well. Others means other cities. Well done. I know for a fact, Teresa, you don't live in Tokyo because Tokyo has so much traffic. It took me an hour to come home today and I only drove 18 kilometers. So an hour. So you live in Chayapum, Thailand. Ooh, I've never been to that city. I've been to Thailand 2 times, but I've never been there. Teresa, what is your city famous for? What is your city famous for? Is it famous for like what kind of food is it famous for, or what type of scenery? Is it famous for beaches, mountains, jungles? Is it famous for a special type of food or fruit? I loved, when I went to Thailand, I loved it. The people were super, super friendly. Food is amazing. And what time is it in Thailand right now? I hope it's not too late. All right. Anybody else have a sentence they want to share? Teresa, your sentence was perfect. My city doesn't have as much traffic as others. I'll give everyone a couple of more minutes to do that. And then again, for homework, you can make as many sentences, original sentences, as you want using any of these nouns. So Teresa, waterfall. Okay, so it's famous for a waterfall. That's great. That's great. It's amazing. Uh, I've never seen a water. When I went to Thailand, I went to the beach. Like I went to an island, a small little island, and it was just beaches, beaches, beaches. It was beautiful. XYZ. I didn't have as much food as Shelly. No S, not Shelly's, not Shelly's, but Shelly. I didn't have as much food as Shelly. Okay, past tense. Yeah, well, I do have. It's not that much. It looks like a lot of food, but it's really. Look at my hand. That it's not that big. It's not that much. It's about the same size as my hand. So it's not that much. It's 9:30 p.m. Oh, it's perfect. Perfect time to study. That's great. Joe's answer: I don't have as many books as a scientist. Great. Great. Yes. I would imagine scientists have a lot of books. Very good. YFS, I haven't read as many books as my brother. Excellent. So you actually used a different verb, which is great. You didn't use have, you used read. But we're still comparing the noun, books. Perfect. You meant was great food, yummy food. Okay, yeah. I don't have as much delicious food, as much yummy food as Shelly. Yes, this looks really good. I'm very excited to eat this. Hopefully it's as good as it looks. All of you, great answers. Perfect. All right, and I know there are other people who are watching as well. Maybe you haven't answered. That's fine. I hope you're actually speaking, though. Make sure you're speaking your answers at home. If you're not typing them, I know some people don't like typing or it's difficult to type, and that's fine. But speak your answers out loud so you're practicing your English as well. And any sentences that you see on the screen, whether it's somebody has given an answer, I have given an answer, repeat those answers, speak those answers out loud. So we've got here, no, you're very welcome, XYZ. You're very welcome. I don't have as many info. And then as someone else, maybe. I don't have as many info. Now, info. Is that info? Information? Are we talking? If it's information is uncountable. So it would be as much information, as much information. All right. So we're going to try to wrap up the lesson there. Your homework, I want you to choose any one of these nouns that you see on the screen now, or you can choose all of them and make some sentences comparing two things. Right? You can make 10 sentences. You can leave them all in the comment section. I will check all of your answers. All right. So remember, when it's countable, please use many. And if it's uncountable, please use much. Right? And then just be careful of the verb. Make sure the verb is matching your subject. Some subjects cannot have an action. So be careful with that. And if anybody wants a copy of this lesson, just let me know. Let me know, and I can somehow get that to you. And if you guys are watching on the live stream replay, and if you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll be doing a lot of live lessons. I'm trying to do at least 3 every week. So that's 3 times that we can study together. I always prepare a lesson for all of these live lessons. So we definitely will have something to study each time. So does anybody have any final questions? Nice. I don't have as much information as Chat GTP. Yes, me too. Me too. I don't have as much information as Chat GTP. Yes. Do you use Chat GTP? I do. I use it. I think it's great. It saves me a lot of time. Sometimes, though, it gives me incorrect information. So be careful if you use it. Double check the information that it gives you. A lot of times it's made mistakes. All right. Any final questions before we wrap up today's lesson? Okay. Remember, today we're comparing nouns. We always learn how to compare adjectives, bigger, smaller, taller. Today we focused on nouns, and we had to be careful, countable or uncountable. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. Sometimes I sign off and then people have questions after. I can always read your comments even after I stop the lesson. So if there is a question after, I always answer in that chat. Detail is countable. Detail is countable. So it's quite, information is uncountable, but detail is countable. So many details. Yeah, detail is countable. Yeah, that is confusing, that one. But yeah, information is uncountable. Details is countable. Good question. Good comment, Dio. XYZ, do you have a list of countable and uncountable nouns? Yes, I do. I do have a list of countable and uncountable nouns. The only problem is the list continues to grow. So it is very, very long. But yes, I do have one, and I can get that to you if you want. I'll do a lesson for it as well. Teresa, I've got to go to bed. I really appreciate for what you shared today. You're very welcome, Teresa. Thanks for being so active in the lesson. You did a really good job. Keep up the hard work. Teresa, I'll be doing another live lesson on Saturday and Sunday. So just check my community page. And if you have time, join me. But good night. Have a great night. Good night. And I hope you have a good day tomorrow. No, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. So yeah, back to XYZ. Do I have a list of countable and uncountable nouns? Yeah, I do. I'll try to make a lesson on it, but honestly, if I did a lesson on just countable and uncountable nouns, it would take forever. But I do have one. I've got a lesson coming out actually that is breaking up the countable and uncountable nouns in categories. So I will have a video of that coming out soon. XYZ. So just make sure you check my channel. Just keep looking for that video. I hope to have it finished soon, and then I'll upload it as soon as it's done. Otherwise, if you want a copy of it, I can get that to you. YFS, thank you always. I'm always able to learn new things from your lesson. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. I'm glad you're learning. I'm glad these lessons are helping you. All right, guys. Well, really good lesson. Really good job by everyone. Good sentences. I'm very impressed with all of you guys today. All right, so we'll wrap things up now with that. Thank you as well for everyone joining. Whoever's watching on the replay, thanks for watching. Make sure you're commenting and answering all the questions. Make sure you do your homework as well. All right, until the next lesson, which will be the live lesson on Saturday. That'll be in the morning. I'm going to try to do it a little bit later. I usually do the lesson at 7 a.m., but I'll do it a little bit later this Saturday, maybe 8:30 a.m., a little bit later. I'll give everybody a chance to wake up. I always watch your videos. You're a great teacher. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You're very nice. You're welcome, Joe. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you as well. All right, guys. I'll see you in the next lesson Saturday. XYZ will be there. So I'll see you on Saturday, XYZ. Anybody else who joins, I'll see you then. And then Sunday as well. I'll be doing a lesson on Sunday as well. So, and then next week, Thursday, and then so on and so on. All right. All right. YFS, you're in. All right. Perfect. Perfect. I'll see you there. All right, guys. Until the next lesson. See ya.